podcast. This is Court.
And this is Ashley, and we're coming at you live from Boston with YCDB's first ever Fiance.
OMG. Guys, it happened. Your girl's engaged. What a time to be alive.
What a time. I didn't know if we were ever going to make it here, but we got here alive and well and happy.
Thriving. Everyone managed to keep it a secret. I am just beyond filled with love. I also believe I owe many people an apology for having to sit through my spirals, including all of you. Meanwhile, there was a plan the whole damn time.
The whole time. It was probably one of the most entertaining pieces of this entire engagement, knowing literally every detail has been planned out behind the scenes. Matthew is a saint.
He is.
He is so patient.
I would love to see your text. Did you delete your text messages with him?
No.
Oh my God.
No. I have all of them. We can go through them.
Wow. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
But yeah, to set the scene, it just happened this past weekend. It happened on Saturday, August 10th. Celebrated with family and friends, and we'll share more details later, but it's officially Thursday, the Thursday following, and it's still all soaking in. It's like Ashley and I haven't even had the chance to sit down and give this debrief because we hopped straight into the week. So today's episode is all about the debrief, everything that led up to it, all the things I didn't know and still don't, and yeah, given all the tea to you guys.
So fun. Literally the second it happened and Courtney and I hugged, embraced, and we were like, where are the mics? We need the mics. Like, because it was just so, wait, how did you know what happened? And it's just so fun.
It's so good. Well, let's start out with the lead up.
Yeah.
There's like so many different points, but we'll try to start chronologically.
Yeah.
And maybe we can start with when Matt asked my dad.
Yeah. So even before that, I would just like to go on record and say Matthew told me he was going to propose to Courtney the first winter. I don't even think you guys have ever even been together for a year yet.
Can I guess when it was?
I think I told you when it was.
No, you didn't. Oh,
okay.
But I think it was our cocktail night.
It was our cocktail night.
I know everyone so well. Like, I literally caught a little moment of him kind of whispering in the corner. I was with Joe in the kitchen. And I was like, I'm going to stay with Joe a little longer because I think something's going down.
Yep. The way I looked at that man and I said, Matt, what?
Yeah.
Sir, I don't even know you.
Yeah.
Like, I need to vet you a lot more. I was like, this man's crazy. And then time goes on and he was right. I literally wrote it down in my notes and I was like, first time Matt, just in case, you know? I was like, first time Matt even brought up this conversation, and I hadn't heard. It was radio silence on your end as far as engagements and proposals and potentially getting married goes. And I was like, okay, this is crazy.
Wait, and then you and I had a date night after that, and you literally sat me down at the bar, and you were like, is this what you want? Like, is this for real? Or are you just excited? Like, she was so worried.
I was so worried.
Is this man love bombing? Is this whatever? Because we had been together for 8 months, probably 8 months at that point.
Yeah, not even a year. And this man's telling me that I barely know him, and he's like, I'm gonna marry this girl. I'm like, do you even know this girl? Like, I know this girl. And then a couple weeks later, I sat Courtney down. We went to Bar Polino on Newberry Street in the basement over a glass of wine. I said, Courtney, I'm gonna bring this up one time. If you tell me it's right, I will leave it and I will trust you. But as your best friend, I have to ask you, are you sure this is what you want? Because I didn't know Matthew at this point, but I'm still happy I did that because I think it shows to you like how much I care about you. Yeah. And it also shows to Matt that I wouldn't be happy with just anybody. Being here forever. Yeah. So that was kind of fun and cool. But I remember you guys were down in Florida for the holidays. Yes. And I get a text from Matt and he goes, you'll never believe what I just did. And I literally responded, I go, you just asked for permission. He goes, yep. I was like, oh my God, it's really happening. But the way I just knew, It was so out of the blue. We hadn't really talked about anything like that since. But I got the text and I was like, all right, it's freaking happening. For the record, at this point, I was like, yeah, they're going to get married. I love Matt. Like,
yeah.
He was my bestie at that point. But yeah, 1 year after he originally told me.
Crazy.
Yes. Yeah. So did you know when you were in Florida?
No. So what's crazy is when we had been on our family cruise in May, like this past May, I had told him, I was like, Matt, you haven't really had any alone time with my dad yet. Like, don't you want to go over there and whatever? And Matt was like, what do you mean? Like, I've spent time with your dad. I don't need to have a certain conversations with him alone. And I really had no idea that he had already asked. And so he told me right after he proposed that he had asked my dad in December. He took my dad and my brother out golfing for a day as like a Christmas present, basically. And then my dad, they needed a foursome, so another family friend joined the party. So Matt brought it up to my dad saying like, hey, like would love to talk to you about something today. Just kind of pre-warning the conversation. My dad was like, really? What do you need to ask me? What do you need to talk to me about?
I would be so scared to ask your father, honestly, either one of our fathers, for permission.
Yeah.
Like, so scared.
But Matt said, I think you know what I'm going to ask you. And then like that was that. They didn't have a chance to talk about it on the course. But then when they got home, they went to go pick up takeout food together and bring it back to my family. And he asked in the car, basically. And it was just like the cutest thing. Apparently, my dad said something along the lines of like, I've been around for 61 years. I've seen so many couples, good and bad, throughout my entire life. Like, I've never seen two people that were more meant for each other. Like, I would be honored to have you as a son-in-law.
Yeah.
And yeah, he told me this as well. And guys, I've been crying for a week straight. Like, absolutely ugly crying, happy tears. But yeah, so that had happened. So that was a first, like, entire derail. I had no idea it happened that trip. And apparently my brother and my dad had known, and everyone in my life has known for at least 6 months, except for my mom.
I know.
They concealed it from Denise.
I found that out the week leading up to your engagement, because we were on the phone, and she's like, did you know I was the last one to know? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, I know. I'm pissed. And she told me how Cameron and Tim knew, and they didn't tell her. And I was like, these men, that is so rude.
Yes. However,
do you think she would have slipped out?
She almost didn't trust herself. Like in the past 2 to 3 months, my mom has been in Rhode Island. She does that every summer. Her family's here. And I have gone down multiple times to see her, and she had never once invited herself to come visit me. And so I gave her so much shit. I called her out one day. I'm like, are you serious? Like, my random aunts and cousins are coming up to visit me. Meanwhile, you haven't asked to come up once. And I guess she's been avoiding me like the plague for since she found out. So if she had known for the past 6 months, I think there would have been something horrendous happen to our relationship if that bitch was avoiding me like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I guess I had invited her to come up the weekend of the proposal. So she called Matt frantically and was like, what do I do? Like, that was
like probably the most risky plans ever.
Yeah, I know.
Not because I didn't have faith in Denise, but I know her so well that I feel like if you said like, I think I'm getting engaged tomorrow, I could see her being like,
and she had one too many cocktails than her.
Yeah. And just like, I know her like silent face when she doesn't want to give a reaction, but the no reaction is a reaction. And I was just playing it out in my mind. And I was like, you got this, Denise. You got this.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, she did a great job. She ended up coming up on Friday night, took me out to dinner. I had actually told her, I was like, I kind of have a gut feeling that it's going to happen. Like, if not this weekend, then soon. I don't know. Like, Matt's just been acting a little fishy, but he really even wasn't. I've just been picking up things and overthinking everything for the past couple of months.
Courtney thinks that she was getting engaged like every weekend, even though when you talk to her, she'd be like, no, it's not happening till the fall. But then the weekend approached, she's like, you know, he's acting really weird. I knew for a fact you thought you were going to get engaged in Nantucket.
Yes.
I told Matt, Nantucket would have been fab for you guys. I would have been sad because, like, I wasn't there. And, like, looking back now at all of the plans with the family members and the friends, like, but I was like, Matt, you should have just pulled the trigger in Nantucket. He had the ring at that point. It would be perfect.
Yeah. Well, this man, we're in Nantucket. He has the audacity to wake up one morning and say, should we just wait till next summer so I could propose to you in Nantucket? And I literally look at him, I go, no, bitch, you should have proposed to me today. Or yesterday in Nantucket, you asshole. So, yes, I was going crazy, but he was also feeding it. Like, he intentionally had a conversation with me a couple of months ago that was like, Court, like, I want to let you know, like, I didn't start planning in time. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm telling you this because I don't want to get your hopes up. Like, it's not happening this summer. And so in a part of me in the back of my mind was like, this man's trying to derail me.
Yeah.
But also I'm like, okay, at least he told me, so I won't get my hopes up. Like, he was playing as many mind games as I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly. But Nantucket was funny because my cousin lives there. So that's why we were going. We were visiting her. And she had initially sent me a bunch of dates to choose from. And I chose this past weekend, August 10th. And Matt found out that we were going to Nantucket August 10th and was like, no, we're not. Like, that can't happen. And so he called my cousin Emily, who then had to call my cousin Lauren. They fabricated this whole excuse as to how she had other family coming or friends coming the weekend of the 10th. So we had to come a weekend early. Like, he was in contact with everyone in my family, and I have like a family of 40 plus people. Like, it's crazy.
It's so
but
insane.
That was like a really funny element. When we were in Nantucket too, we were with our friends McKenna and JP, and McKenna strategically asked this question. Our friend McKenna is known for saying what anybody else is thinking but would just maybe hold back a little bit to say. Like, she's just very unfiltered. We were on a walk back to like the apartment, and McKenna's like, can I just ask one question? The engagement hadn't been brought up really at all. And we're all like, yeah, sure. Matt's like, yeah, go ahead. And she goes, so, like, why haven't you done it yet? Like, what's holding you back? This bitch knew. Just put him on the spot like that. And he brought up this, you know, I just didn't plan. He said something, I don't remember what. But it literally started like a little like, fuck you, Matt. Like, fuck you, Matt. And McKenna knew the whole time. So everyone was in on it, all to say. You have been in on it the whole time. Like, what do I not know?
So kind of.
Okay.
So
tell
even
me.
the night that he texted me that he asked for permission, he was like, oh my God. And I told him the whole plan, and he's so in on it. And I was like, what's the plan? Hi, I'd like to be in on it. He told me there was a plan and that other people were in on it, and then proceeded to ignore my what is the plan question and never bring it up. I remember one night we were all out at committee. We just looked up the dates. It was May 31st. And there was a huge group of us. Courtney went to the bathroom, and Matt decides to just blurt out to the entire table, so guys, I have the date I'm going to propose to Courtney on. And I was like, why am I finding this out with other people that are not even close to you?
Because he was so adamant about not including anybody for some reason.
Yeah.
But then, so this is what I think it is.
Yeah.
I've psychoanalyzed.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want anyone to be involved, but then he can't keep a secret.
Yeah, totally.
He told anybody that would listen.
Yep.
He said anytime we were with anyone and I went to the bathroom, he told them.
No, I feel like there were times that we were away with even like some of my friends and you guys were around, like you would leave, that person would come up to me and be like, wow, so Matt has this plan. I'm like, Matt, that's so risky.
Yeah, so risky.
Oh my God. So anyways, I had a couple drinks in me that night, and I'm like, Matt, I'd say this in front of everybody because I don't care. I'm like, you need to include me. Like, this is supposed to be a bonding experience for us. Like, anyways, he was like, do you want to come with me to see the ring? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't need to be this involved. But okay. But I was there the day he like bought the actual ring. And I mean, you guys had already kind of picked out the exact ring.
A little bit, yeah.
So it's not like he was asking opinions or anything. It was just like, okay, so this is it. I knew you were going to be so happy. It was the exact one that you wanted.
Yeah.
So then it ends. We go out. He looks at me. He goes, so do you feel bonded? I go, You know what, Matt? I do. But I swear from that moment forward, we were like this. Like, I have never felt closer to Matt. I'm so happy he included me in this piece. And I was like, just tell me what I can do. You guys are my favorite people in the world. I don't need to be a part of the decision making. Like, give me tasks. I just want it to make it like the best day for you guys. So feel free to assign me anything. I can be as involved or as not involved as you want. And I really do think we bonded a lot.
I love that.
So it was so good.
I can't believe you guys went together.
I know.
It's so crazy. Like, it made it so believable because Matt externally to anybody was like, I want this to be like my thing. Like, I don't want people, he didn't even want me to basically pick out the ring. And he's very adamant about that not being the narrative. I picked out the stone, but then he picked the prongs and the like every little detail that's involved. But he's like, I want it to be like an us thing. I don't want it to be like there's 700 opinions involved.
Yeah.
And in him saying that, and then your Academy Award winning performance,
thank you.
I really had no idea. Like, I genuinely thought that he wasn't looping you into anything.
Yeah.
And especially when I brought it up to you, and even in the episode we recorded about engagements, I forget exactly what we were saying at the end of the episode. And I was like, and I fear it's because you know nothing. And he definitely hasn't started planning yet. Like, you did so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so happy you had that experience. So what exactly were you involved in outside of actually going to the ring?
Really just like helping to brainstorm ideas for after dinner. He really had it all planned. Like, he really did. He said, okay, I just want to have you there. We ended up deciding on, I think I said like Italy rooftop. I was like throwing out like a bunch of like potential places. Yeah. And he's like, wait, Italy's right next to Rochambeau. That's perfect. We actually went for a drink there, and I was like, awesome. He's like, I reserved the patio. And then he would just ask me, like, little details, but, like, okay, I'd like it if you were there to, like, get everybody together. Yeah. And, like, that was really it. I wasn't even involved. It was just somebody to share the plans with. Yeah. Yeah, I really just contributed the balloons. I didn't do much other than I was just a supporting character. So good. Which is all I ever wanted to be. And it was perfect.
Well, A+. Great performance. So happy he involved you. And you feel bonded. Too. What's crazy, though, is so I guess he had been a couple times to go design, pick up, pay for the ring, whatever. This man left his phone at the dry cleaners, which is like kind of near it, so that if I were to look up his location.
Oh yeah, he made me leave my phone at home. He's like, you have to make sure. I'm like, perfect. So like, first time I think I've ever left the house without my phone, like left the phone there. We met up front. Crazy. It was like so undercover. Wait, and then when he officially picked up the ring, he texted me, he's like, hey, can you FaceTime quick? And he FaceTimed and he holds up the ring. And I was like, I'm literally going to cry. This is the sweetest thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
I'm going to cry. Stop it.
He was like, it's so beautiful, Ash. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. It was so cute. I was like, wow, that's cool.
Not us both crying right now. So good. He couldn't have done better. Yeah. He couldn't have done better. Everyone's first question to me now that it happened was like, were you expecting it? Like, what, did you know it was happening? And the answer to that is I kind of had a gut feeling, but I also had a gut feeling multiple times throughout the summer. Yeah. And when I tell you that the week leading up to this day was one of the worst weeks in my life, outside of like health-wise, family-wise, like things are good, but personally, career-wise, like just things were not working in either Matt nor I's favor. So there were a lot of like distractions in terms of like me not thinking that it could possibly be this weekend. Shit went down, mental breakdowns. Thursday night, Matt plays in a hockey league and has played in a hockey league for years, longer than we've been together. Every single time when he's walking out the door, I say, please drive safely and do not get hurt. He calls me at 11 p.m. I'm literally like falling asleep. FaceTimes me. He goes, you love me, right? I go, what the fuck did you do? He shows me his face. His chin is split open. Like truly an inch deep gash going across the middle of his chin. I'm like, this is the last thing that we need, not even knowing that engagement was happening. And this man was so adamant about trying to fix this himself, like not going to the doctors to get like professionally stitched up. He called me from a CVS parking lot and was doing like performing surgery on himself basically. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. So Court calls me and Joe are on our way back from a wedding in Connecticut Friday morning. He's like, oh my God. And then like on top of our crazy week, you'll never believe what happened to Matt last night. She tells us he splits open his chin. And Joe and I just look at each other and we're like, no way. It's like the universe is doing everything it can to prevent this from freaking happening.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, like my heart just felt heavy for him.
Yeah. I guess the weather, we were supposed to get like a tropical storm that
there was
weekend.
a hurricane as well. It was raining, like terrible weather all leading up to it. Saturday.
Perfect. Amazing. So I kind of had a feeling like throughout the week, although we were having a bad week, he kept on saying, but don't worry, we're going to have the best weekend ever. I'm like, okay. The night before when my mom was in town, he offered to drive us to dinner because it was going to start raining. And then we were sitting on the couch. He was like, we were about to leave. And all of a sudden he just kind of like propped up and said, I'm going to go on a walk. Like, I just need to go on a walk. Like, he kind of blamed it on the week and what was happening. And he's like, I just need to blow off some steam. And I was like, you've never just, like, needed to go on a walk, especially after you told me you were going to drive me somewhere. Just weird. And then another thing that made me think of it potentially happening, which is may not have made other people, but I was just so anal about things. Throughout the week, like, he was just very adamant about checking the weather for Saturday. And my mom had asked him, like, did you check the weather? Or, like, what's the weather going to be tomorrow? And he was like, 80% chance of humidity, like, it's 69 degrees outside this time. I'm like, okay, weatherman. Wow. How and why do you know this much in detail about the weather? Like, just, I'm like, okay. And then one other thing he said was, like, what are you going to wear to dinner? Like, I'd love to get a good picture before dinner tomorrow. And he also wanted to walk along the Esplanade, which we do all the time, but we don't really walk to dinner along the Esplanade.
Yeah. Not in heels.
Not in heels and a nice fit.
Yeah.
No.
But I feel like that makes sense. I think 95% of people, when they're about to get engaged.
Yeah, like have a general idea.
Especially once you're all dressed up and you're like walking to whatever. It's got to come across your mind. It would be probably alarming if it didn't. Like, oh my God, am I about to get engaged right now?
Yeah.
Because then maybe you shouldn't be getting engaged and you haven't talked about it enough.
Exactly.
So, like, that part makes sense.
Yeah. And it didn't ruin anything for me. The whole day, even though I was like, maybe it's happening. When my mom had left us a couple hours before. And she was like, all right, going to dinner in Jamestown with my family, which is in Rhode Island. I was like, okay, bye, see ya. And in the back of my head, I was like, what if she's not going to Rhode Island? Like, I just was thinking, because my brother had called her randomly and she played it off so well. My mom deserves a lot of claps too. She was like, Cameron, are you going golfing later? Like, completely derailed him from saying anything potentially bad, even though he was in Boston, had been there all day. He was asking her, like, when the hell are you going to get at this hotel? So everyone did a great job, but leading up to it, I was telling myself, like, Courtney, we're just going to dinner. We're just having a date night. We haven't had a date night in 6 months because you also don't want to get imagine if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But we got ready. I was so happy.
How did you pick that outfit? Because it could not have been more perfect. You looked so stunning. You. Even, like, matching the water. Like, you looked perfect.
Matt and I went to Zara like 2 weeks ago, and I don't know. I just gravitated towards it was a skirt and a top, but it looked like a dress.
Like a dress, yeah.
And I wanted to wear it in Nantucket, and I just didn't for some reason. Like, we never did anything that was that fancy. And so when he told me that we were going to have a date night the following weekend, I was like, perfect. It'll give me an excuse to wear this outfit that I had just bought. So, like, I don't know. It just worked out awesome. I just happened to have it in my closet and was excited to wear it and had got it 2 weeks prior. But so we were getting ready and I just, like, had all the good energy. Like, we had so much fun. Like, we had music. We had Noah Khan blasting. So, yeah. So we left at 5:30 to start walking to Contessa, which is where he told me we were going. And we were like holding hands the whole walk, and Matt started to get clammy. And Matt is not a sweater. Like, no. I'm the one that gets clammy, and he was like starting to sweat a little bit. And I was like, oh my God, like I really think it's happening. But just, he was kind of quiet because you could tell he was like in his head trying to like see maybe where the photographer was and like where he had a specific point that he wanted to do it. So I could tell he was kind of looking into the distance a little bit, trying to see if people were standing there, whatever. So I was like creating conversation almost. And I kept on having the lyrics of All My Love by Noah Kahan in my head. So we just kept on like singing it like aloud together. Aww. To like fill the blank space because he was clearly in his head. But then we get to this lookout point where he, I think, wanted to do it. He kind of like stopped us in our tracks on our walk. And we just kind of looked out, and then he didn't do anything because there were a shit ton of people. There was this man in jorts and like denim cutoffs with a baseball hat on, talking in a different language on the phone, just pacing in the exact spot where he wanted to do it. And he was like, what the fuck? And then he was like, all right, he just kind of took me back on the trail and then took me a little bit further. And then
when you like left the trail, were you like, damn, it's not happening?
No, I was just like, what's happening? Like I could tell he wanted to do it, but he didn't know how to do it. And then he was just like, you know how much I love you, right? And then I was like, yeah. And then he's like, you know how much I love you, right? And he like stopped me, and then I just started bawling because I could just tell where it was going. Yeah. And then he got on one knee. I absolutely blacked out. He had this whole speech planned.
Did you black out, or did you just like?
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember was do you know how much I love you? And then he had a longer kind of speech planned, but then I started ugly crying, and he's like, I gotta get to the chase here. I gotta get to it. And then he asked the question, got down on one knee. The ring was quite literally perfect. And there was a photographer there, which was really special because it was the same photographer that like his family had grown up with. Like she's a couple years older than us, and she photographed his sister's wedding a year ago. So like we had been friends and like followed each other on Instagram and stuff. And so when she like put the camera down, I was like, Abby, like it was just cool to have someone that we knew like present with us to share the moment. But where he did it was right across from the pop-up brewery on the Esplanade, like Night Owl or whatever. Yeah. And so we had our private moment. But then the second I said yes and he put the ring on my finger, no joke, 300 fucking people were cheering. They were like, yeah, congratulations, screaming all
That's kind of fun.
It was fun. It just like added to the excitement of it all. Yeah. And then someone in the crowd said, congratulations, Courtney. And I was like, who are you? No idea who they are. Just no clue. Aww. And then we took photos for a few minutes, and he's like, okay, we actually have to go. We're not going to Contessa. We're going to Crossy, which is where we had our second date, but the date that like we both knew we were falling for each other. It's just like our special place. And he led me to believe that it was just us. Like I always had a thought in the back of my mind that he would want to do something with family and friends, but he was like, I talked to the restaurant. They were able to reserve the exact bar stools that we sat at on our date.
That's cute.
And I walk in, and all of our family's there. It's his family from Florida. He flew in my dad, my brother, my brother's girlfriend. Like, it was just so special. Started crying. My aunt and uncle that have been like my second parents my whole life were there. It was just so awesome. And then people were trying to call me. Like, people were slowly, like, almost blowing it. Yeah. Like, I was like, oh, my God, do I FaceTime Ashley? Like, I want.
No, guys. Once again, me making this engagement about myself. One, I'm, like, tracking her location this whole time, obviously. I'm at dinner with a couple of us waiting for this all to happen. I'm like, okay, so when Courtney FaceTimes me, like, I'm going to step outside the restaurant. She thinks I'm out to dinner with Joe's family. Like, I had the full plan, so, like, she didn't see other people. I'm like, it's weird. Like, I haven't gotten a FaceTime yet. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, they're fully having dinner, and I still haven't gotten a call from her. I'm like, did she forget about me? Like, did she not want to tell me? Like, I was so upset. But then everybody, including you, but all of your family members were like, oh my God, she wanted to call you the whole time. And I was like, okay, I feel better.
No, it's just so crazy. Like I feel like you just have so much adrenaline, and when it happened, and even like an hour later, I didn't feel inclined to call anybody because the immediate people I would have called were right there outside of you.
Yeah.
But then I was like, do I call her?
And I'm honestly happy you didn't. Like, I say those things jokingly. Like, I wanted you to enjoy the moment and like be there and not be on your phone. So.
Yeah. And then, so my family was like, no, don't do that. And then my brother was, I guess, like my childhood best friend, Alex, she sent up like a present, and the present was there. And my brother like brought it with his gift that he got me. And he was like, Alex really wanted to be here, but like she sent a gift instead. And I didn't read into it, but my family was like, fucking bite your tongue, kid. Like she doesn't know that people are there yet. So there were like little things, like people were really, as they were starting to drink wine, it was getting a little freaky, and people were about to slip up. But they made an excuse that we only had the reservation window in the back area of Crossy for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. So we left at around 8:30, and I was like, Matt, where should we go? And he's like, maybe Earl's rooftop, like it's big enough, like we'll have enough space for everybody. And so we're walking, my dad's ahead of us, and my dad opens the door to Rochambeau. And I was like, guys, this is not where we're supposed to be going. And Matt just kind of pushes me in, and no joke, 80 people were there.
There were so many people.
Family from out of state, like all of our friends, like Matt's childhood friends, obviously Ashley and Joe, like our new friends that we do everything with, like that we've made over the past year. I was just in shock, like hysterically crying. I saw Ashley with the camera in there. I started
sitting there with the
vlog camera, bawling.
The second, I was like so good. Crying. I was just excited. Courtney walks through, and I'm just like, oh my god, crying.
It was just the last thing I was expecting. Like at that point, of course I wanted that to happen, but if it didn't happen, like I was just over the moon regardless.
Yeah.
And the fact that people flew from out of state, drove. Yeah. My cousin was there from Nashville. I had family there from New Hampshire. Like one of my best friends from childhood came from New York. Like I've just never felt like so loved in my entire life. Yeah. And not me crying on the podcast for the first time, but like it was just like the most special experience ever. And the fact that Matt made it seem like he wasn't planning, like made it all the more amazing. And then he basically gave us like a walk down memory lane, because Rochambeau was where we had our first drink before we went to Crossy that night. So just everything was so intentional and so perfect.
It was perfect. And you could, when I say this was one of the best nights of my life, it truly was. And I'm not just saying that, like, it was so much fun. You could feel the love and the energy from everybody that loves you guys so much. Yeah. And it was just the best. I don't think it could have been a more perfect engagement day. No. And I love how he did like the surprise after surprise after surprise. And it made it so even if you thought you were getting engaged, there was no way you could have ever guessed what came after that. Exactly. And oh my God, I was just so freaking excited for you the whole time.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
It was amazing.
But yeah, your girl's engaged.
And she's engaged.
And she's engaged. You guys want to hear about the ring?
Yeah. Wait, so I feel like people are interested. When did you first go ring shopping together?
Okay, so I had been by myself like a year ago, just because, guys, engagement ring shopping is no joke. Like if it's this much of an investment, like you want to make sure you know exactly what you want. And so I had gone by myself a couple of times because Matt was adamant about not just going to pick up the ring that I had wanted. So he never really wanted to go together to like design it. And then he wanted an element of surprise still. So I went myself to try to see what style I liked. Then I brought Ashley. I think it was in the springtime. And we found a place on Newbury Street, and I found the exact shape that I really loved, which is a pear shape. But
pears are very tricky because they look very different.
Yeah, every pear looks so different. Like some are fatter than others, some are longer. Like I don't even know how to describe this one aside from perfect. So I found the stone that I liked. I knew I wanted like a gold band, but outside of that, whatever Matt did with that information would have been perfect for me. And so one day, like a few months later, Matt and I were just walking Newbury Street on Sunday, and we walked by the store, and he was like, Court, isn't that the place that you found the ring at? Like, do you want to go in? And I was like, oh my God, like I never thought those words would ever come out of his mouth. Like, yes, let's absolutely go in. And I go in, we walk in, and the girl, her name is Hannah, who gave me, like, Ashley and I, a consultation the first time. She happened to be there. So she pulled up my like charts. She brought out the stone and basically just showed him. And then after that, Matt had gone a couple times and with you to actually solidify it. So he got the exact stone that I liked. But then he did a hidden halo. He customized the prongs. So I guess the standard way to do this shape is, at least at that store, is just 3 prongs. And he just didn't like the look of it. He
called them a talon. He's like, I can't look at this and not see like a talon. And I was like, oh my God, I can't unsee it now.
Yeah. He was just like, no, we need to do something different. He's like, Court's also very like clumsy. Like, I want this bitch to be secure in there.
I think it looks way prettier with the 6.
With 5.
Or 5.
But
it looks more like elegant and the way it's being held up.
I agree. So the girl was like, this is not going to be returnable. This is going to be a custom job because we don't do the prongs like this. And he's like, perfect. Like, it's not going to be returned anyway. And so, yeah, he has a hidden halo. There's 5 prongs. Someone asked me the width of this band. I have no idea. I'll have to look at it. I have like a pamphlet with all of the details about the ring, but it's just truly the most perfect thing I've ever seen.
It's so perfect.
It's so
beautiful.
Sorry to say, but I've been seeing all these engaged girls with rings on their finger. I've been hyper aware this past week, and I'm like, sorry, ladies, I got the prettiest one.
You do. You really do.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do need to apologize to Matt 100 times because I guess he told me there was a point. There was a point we were lying in bed one night, the day he picked up the ring, and I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a pair, I think it was people had started to get engaged. Like, before the past few months, I hadn't seen anyone with this shape, and I saw like a bunch of people start to get it. And I said in common conversation, I don't know if I even like a pair anymore, or I said something like that, or I don't like these prongs that I see. And it happened to be very similar to what he had purchased and picked up that day. And he was like, I'm going to divorce this bitch before we even get married. Like, this girl needs to stop. So he texted me the next morning and he's like, this is supposed to be exciting for me and I'm not having fun. You need to zip it and let me do what I am going to do. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop talking about it.
Okay, so I think everyone's going to be wondering, what's next for the fiancés? Are we thinking a 1-year engagement? Is there wedding planning? Is it 2 years? Is it more than that?
It's going to be likely a 2-year engagement, maybe getting married summer of 2026. We want to do a destination wedding. So the goal is to next summer have a trip that we explore different venues and see them in person, and then get married the following summer. But I'm just trying to enjoy. I know I was rushing to this engagement, but it's because I wanted a long engagement or a longer, so that I can enjoy being a fiance and like being in that era.
Yeah, I love that.
It's so funny. Like, Matt and I look at each other and we're like, we're fiancés. And he calls it, he goes, fiance. And I'm like, no, it's fiance. He goes, fiance. He like has like this French, I'm not even doing it correctly, but he has like this French word, like the way he's pronouncing it. And it's just so fun. Like, I just want to, I don't want this excitement to ever end. Yeah. Like, it just feels like a high. And although nothing has changed outside of like ring on the finger, like it really just feels so much more solidified for some reason. Like, it's just so exciting.
Yeah.
And I was also talking to some friends that are recently engaged this week, and they're like, it's just a symbol externally to people too. Like, when I travel for work, or like when I'm out at a bar, I guess people obviously are like, don't even try to do anything. Like, I don't know. I just think it's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fun. I'm so excited for you guys.
Thank you.
I'm happy to hear it'll be a long engagement, only because I think people rush into a wedding so quick. And like you said, this is such a fun era. Like, this is a whole next chapter.
Yeah.
Like, you have the rest of your life to be engaged or married. Like, this is such a short window.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be so fun for you guys to travel, to see venues, like so many exciting things, and I can't wait.
So
I'm also excited for the pod to share like wedding planning tips and this and that and bachelorette like dresses and where we're getting things. It'll be really fun.
It's gonna be such a good time.
Yeah.
A new chapter, new era.
Well, congrats to Courtney and Matthew.
Thank you so much. And with that, I think that concludes the debrief episode.
Yeah.
We love you. If you enjoyed today's episode, you're approaching this bridal era for yourself, or maybe you're not, I hope you enjoyed listening. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Talk to you next week.
Really, bye.